You take a look at this piece. This has the wood, but then once you have it, you can get pretty creative with it, making these different boards, changing the color. It's very simple, and it's something that you just want to extend into your understanding of the software. So this size of the document, for example, is 11 by 17 at 300 pixels per inch. So the part to the right-hand side, this white space, is your paper, which is 8.5 by 11. When I put the rulers up there, you can see that they're top and bottom on the left-hand side. When I drag the intersection of the ruler over and place it here, it resets the 0-point marker, and here you can see it's 8.5 by 11. Okay, just double-click at the intersection of these two rulers, and you can see the rulers reset themselves. So the directions listed right here, they call for the first one, just setting your foreground and background color to different colors of brown. So I'm just clicking it with the color picker, holding the X, and it flip-flops it so that I can pick a darker value. So now I have two values there. And the next part is just trying to render. If you render everything on those layers is going to be connected. So there's a new layer above this for you, and take the marquee selection and just make a rectangular selection. And then when you go into filter, you'll see render, and you'll see fibers, and it'll come up, and it'll give you this random look, this window, and you can minus or subtract, but at least you can see the look of that window color for there. Okay, if you need to, you can change the color, lighter, darker, but you have to go up. You can either hit the filter again at the top, and it'll filter that piece, so it gives you this look of the wood there. Okay, and it's not too difficult. They just go through a couple steps. The second one, the texture looks like wood. If you don't try it, redo the settings, and they like to stretch this out a bit. So what they do is they choose image size, but you don't want to do this. I'll just show you what they're doing. They're changing this to 2 times the size. It's already large enough. So you're just working with this piece that's above the layers. So if you want to, you can rotate it, just free transform it, and shrink it down. You can rotate it, shift key to hold it down to keep it straight, and just the option to reset that. So that's the wood texture for it. And again, if you did another fiber, you can go through that piece. And then just taking a look, this time horizontal is the piece, rotate it clockwise for that. They added some knots. This is optional. Choose the elliptical tool and make a couple selections. They held the shift key down to make it a little bit larger. And in the next step, they also mentioned to do the feathering of this. So you can do it before or after. So I chose it just before, so you can change the feathering up at the top. So here's the elliptical tool. Either hold the shift key down or click on this icon for adding it. And that gives you a couple of these knots in there. And then while it's still on the layer, just go to filter, and this is the twirl under distort. So when you click on this, you'll see the wood texture there, kind of twisting it. Here's the window that you can take a look at, adjusting these pieces. Okay, you can type in the number. If you like what it is, click OK. And you can also option and take this off, or you can keep the shift key and add some more to it and try the filter again. Keep in mind it has 50 pixels that are in there, or changing it for the twirl, and the feathers just set at 22 already. So it's kind of a nice section. So you can go through it and try a couple twirls. There's one at 50. If you just hit it again, it's doing whatever it was set at and changing that wood texture. Come down again here to this piece is, they call this optional section, is just to unsharpen the mask, so it'll keep it a little bit more of that texture. So why this is selected, just select it all with the command key and just go to filter and sharpen and unmask the piece. So here's all the options. And again, you get a threshold to take a look at to see what's happening at kind of crisps up the light. It's a little tricky to see it on this screen, but you'll be able to see it. If I click on it, you can see it does a little bit of texture. And then all this part is with these is just taking this and making it look like a board with an effect on it. So here's the layer, just taking a rectangle tool, feathers at 0, and just drawing a section for this board. Go to Layer, New, and you want to cut it, or use the keystroke for it, and you'll notice that it shows up on this piece. So I can take the arrow key and it's auto select, so I can just bump this up a little bit. Take the marquee selection again. I can make another board section for it, and it's Command Shift J, and that does the same thing. So I'll just click on this and detract a little bit. So you have a couple of options to work from, and it'll get you that particular selection there. So there's the boards, and you can you can free transfer these and rotate it if you want to switch up the grain so it doesn't look too much like a pattern, it looks like floorboards. And then these are the effects that I used. I can just option and duplicate one, and it'll drop it, copy it on there. And basically it's just the bevel and emboss with we'll put a slight drop shadow onto it. And the drop shadow can be moved interactively. Okay, and here's the FX for effects, and you can hold option and just drag them right on each of these, or you can just combine all the layers once there's a little bit of a gap in between them. So I'll just go ahead and do that as well. Just merge them together if you'd like, but that's for that particular section. And you can do another one. You can marquee one of these boards and go to the down at the panel. There's the option for adjustment layer, and the nice thing about this is that it works just down the layer. So hue saturation, I made that selection. Here's the piece, and up at the top is where these colors are, so you can change the color, the saturation of the color, light that up a little bit, and from that piece you can build that coloring from it. Okay, so I will just bump out of there for a second and take this hue saturation out and do one more option where you can do color balance, and that's the same idea. Just stretch these out. They show up here, so you can increase the coloring. Right now it's working on all of them, so you have the option to do that. And then just to work with the layer, just hold the option and click in between it. Now it's just affecting this layer, not the entire document, and that does that. And again, if you want to take a piece of this out, Command Shift J if you'd like, put this above them, and now that piece of wood is a little different color. And the nice thing about this is you can go in and edit this. Okay, so I can change the color of the wood like that, and it gives you a nice adjustment to it. The other option is that these same functions or features are still up into here. So image adjust, hue saturation, and all of these things that you see here will be affected here, but they'll be permanently attached to that layer. Nice thing about in the layers panel is that you can adjust them, trash them, or just affect them to certain layers themselves. So it makes it a little bit easier to do that. So here's just a darker value. So for example, if you did that with a black, or if it's going to have the shadow still casting onto it, an option delete will fill that pretty quickly. So you can see you have a couple of options to work from, and the same idea for that. So this way I can option shift and do a screenshot of that as well. Shift 4, and it'll give me a screenshot just by adjusting it here. And again, if you hit the tab key, it takes away all of the tools. The letter F takes it, and Command R eliminates the rulers to give you that selection. All right, let's see. So this is just the type on top of this. So when you take a look, there's the layer. And the leading is the space between this. So if you needed to raise or lower something in the leading, click in here so you can use the arrow keys and see, watch on screen what's happening. And again, if you increase or decrease the size, you can do it from here and make it larger or smaller. So that's essentially what that was. And in two ways, there's many ways that you can do this, but the selection is here. The wood paneling is also listed on this section too. So this has the piece that's on top of it, and this is the piece below it. The reason it's not disappearing is because there's a couple copies of it down below here. So I took all the layers, duplicated them, and merged them to a new section. So for example, this has the top and the bottom with the inside coloring. So I selected Shift key these layers, duplicate them, hide the original, and just merge these three together is one way to do this. So now they're just one block of wood. Here's the title with the name. Here's the thumbnail, which is the letter T for type. Command click and you have that all selected. Hide the text. And here's the wood. There's the selection. And while that's selected, just go to Layer, New, and copy it. So now you have a copy of the lettering that looks like the wood is cut out of it. Okay? So there's, and again, a whole bunch of ways that you can do this. I'll just zoom in, double click on the layer that has this, and you can do an inner shadow on this. You can do a, turn that off, you can do bevel and emboss on this to try to get the selection. Here I just, instead of having it be up, which looks like it's embossed, I just click down, and this is something that you can adjust. And then down below here, the shading, get things into a little bit further capacity, change the opacity and the multiply of the screen, so you can see that it multiply lets the values come through behind it, and you can adjust that so it looks like it's carved out of the wood, or you can try something else. There's tons of ways to do this, but just wanted to share that with you so you can see it on that design.